sorry. This is a long class. 5.7, formulas and applications. So you're going to be given a formula and be told to solve for a specific variable in that formula. Okay? So if you were given the formula W1 over W2 equals D1 over D2. What if you were told to solve that for W2? Yeah. A good thing about proportions, do you remember how you multiply and divide? Don't remember? Okay, let me, remember when we had like 3 over 5 equals something like 6 over x? Remember these were equal? And we said this times this equals that times that. And you could just multiply these two, get 30, divide by 3, and you get 10. Or if it's times 2 times 2. But remember, we could multiply and divide by that to get this. So can't we do that with this? To solve for this, we can multiply, then divide. Okay? So you can just do that. So W2 would be W1 times D2, or the other way around, if you want to put them alphabetical, over D1. And if you don't remember that you could do that, you go through the steps. Say W1 over W2 equals D1 over D2. Okay, what you could do is multiply by the common denominator, W2 D2. This sounds like R2D2. And that gets rid of that. That gets rid of that. So you have D2W1 equals D1W2. To solve for W2, we divide by D1. Which gives us the same thing, and just in a different order, right? Still these two things on top, and then on bottom. So if you forget, you could multiply by the common denominator, or say this times this equals this times this, which is this times this, equals the cross products D1, W2. So there's like 3 ways you could solve that way. So if it's a proportion, this is the simplest way. Or you could do cross products are equal, this times this equals that times that, or multiply by the common denominator. 3 different ways. Too many choices. Okay, let's do something where we have to solve. Here's an electricity formula. I over R equals 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. I don't know, I'm sure R is resistance. I'm not sure what the I is. I think it's the amps or something like that. Okay. So, if we're going to solve this for R2, how can we get rid of these fractions? Remember chapter 6 and 14? Where we had a whole bunch of solving and to get a common denominator. To get rid of the fraction, we multiplied by the common denominator. If you remember that. If not, you're just now learning. Make sure you multiply by the common denominator. Which the common denominator, there's nothing in common, so it's all 3 of these. So you need to multiply by R, R1, R2. R, R1, R2, R, R1, R2. Okay, so the R, gone. R1, gone. R2, gone. Now we'll have something that we can solve. R1, R2 equals, that comes down, R, R1. Make sure you keep the capitals and lowercase. R, R1. Okay, we're solving for R2. That means we want R2 all on one side. How do we get R2 all on one side? Well, it's over here. We could bring this one over, right? How do you bring this one over? Subtract it from both sides. So we have R1, R2 minus capital R, R2. Okay. What do you see you can do with these two things here? There's something in common. Factor out the greatest common factor, which is the R2. For the first term, what do you have left?
R1,
R1. Second term, just the capital R, right? We're still solving for R2. To get this by itself, it's multiplied, so what will we do? Opposite of multiply, divide. That's gone. Can we cancel the R? Can we cancel the R1? No. When it has the plus or minus here, these are not factors, so they can't be canceled. Don't fall into the trap of thinking we can cancel stuff and it'll be 1 now. Because it's not the same thing over the same thing, so it's not 1. Can't do it, can't cancel that. So this has to be, the whole thing has to be your answer. It's going to be fun in putting answers in the computer, huh? Yeah. We're getting used to it though, huh? Yes. Everybody's getting to be a pro at putting answers in a computer. Okay, how about another formula? Everybody got this all written down? A equals P times 1 plus RT. That's interest. I think it's compound interest, isn't it? Okay. We need to solve this for, let's solve it for R. Okay. So how are we going to get that by itself?
Divide by 1 plus T.
How about this whole thing is multiplied by P? So we should divide by P. Let's divide by P and then we'll get that thing by itself. So we have A over P is 1 plus RT. We want to get this by itself. Let's refer to our solving equation sheet. Okay? We're trying to get the variable on one side. It is only on one side. On the side with the variable, do the plus or minus first. You got to do the plus or minus first. This is multiplied, so do the plus or minus first. Okay, so subtract 1. So we have A over P minus 1 is equal to RT. Okay? What you can do is turn this into P over P. So you have a common denominator on this side. Does that make sense that you could put P over P? Turn 1 into P over P to get a common denominator? Okay. So this gives us A minus P over P. Okay, is equal to R times T. Now all you have to do to solve for R is divide by T. Dividing by T is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So timesing it by 1 over T is the same thing as dividing by T. When you divide by T, it's going to put the T on the bottom with the P. So we have A minus P over PT is equal to R. So they got a little harder than last semester, right? But maybe we'll do another one kind of like that. See, this is the one we just did, number 20. Solving it for R, we have A minus P over PT. All right, T. Maybe we should do another one like that where we have to solve for something over there. Actually, I don't think you're going to have any word problems. There wasn't any assigned out of the book, so there's probably none on my math lab. They're all just solving formulas. So that's a good sign, good thing. Here's one here. Volume equals 1/3 pi height squared times 3R minus H. So that's the volume. I don't know for sure what that is. It's kind of like volume of a cone, but yeah, I'm not sure about this one. Okay. Solve this for capital R. So, looking at our last example that we did, okay, let me turn it this way. There we go. Looking at our last example, remember what we did is we got rid of this first, right? So that we had this by itself on one side, because we're trying to get this by itself, and it's nowhere else except for right there. So first thing, divide that. So we've got just that. So you've got divided by 1/3 pi h squared, right? So volume over. If you're dividing by 1/3, we're dividing by 1/3. It's the same as times the reciprocal, same as multiplying by 3, right? Phil? Dividing by 1/3 is the same as times 3. So let's put this on top as a 3. We'll leave these on bottom. Gone, gone. All we have left is this. Okay? We've got it over here on one side, where all we have is add and divide, right? Addition and multiplication. So what do we do first?
Add
Plus or minus, right? Add what?
H.
Add H. Oh, that's fun. Looks like TH. So we have 3b over pi h squared plus h equals 3r. Okay? So, if we were going to make it with a common denominator, we would have to write this times pi h squared times pi h squared, right? To get the common denominator. So our common denominator is pi h squared. We have 3b plus pi h to the 3rd power. Right? Divide by 3 to get r. Dividing by 3 is the same as timesing by 1/3. We times this by 1/3, it just puts a 3 in front of this. So we have a 3 pi h squared on the bottom and this stuff on top. That's a pi.
Is that H cubed on top?
3, yes. Because it was 2 and 1 was 3. And that's as far as you can go. You really can't make it any simpler. There's nothing you factor out of this to try. You can't cancel 3's, can't cancel all of the parts. You have the whole thing. Okay? And that's enough for 5-7 unless you have questions. You want to do a bunch of these? Looks like you might at the most have 3, 6, 9, 16 of them maybe that are. I mean, that's better. I mean, some of them have like 30 problems, right? The first ones are probably, at least a couple of them will be proportions where you can multiply, divide. A couple of them will be simple, okay? All right.